Conor McGregor was a champion over featherweight and lightweight. Daniel Cormier was a champion over heavyweight and light heavyweight. Henry Cejudo and Amanda Nunes were both double champions in their own right. I want to ask the question, and I'm going to provide some candidates because this is a question I've gotten for a while now, and I think in a YouTube video is probably the best format to do this because I'm going to dissect this a little bit. Do I believe there will ever be a double champion? What I mean by a double champion, let me clarify right away. A fighter that is able to hold two belts at the same time. I don't mean like an Alex Pereira where somebody who wins the middleweight title, goes up to light heavyweight, and wins the light heavyweight title, but he never held these belts consecutively, even though I do believe he would be able to beat Sean Strickland again, simply if he could make weight. But who are some fighters that I think could do it? When I held out just, open forum, open discussion of who do people think could do it, I heard a lot of Leons, a lot of Dricus du Plessis even. I heard Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira is probably one of the more popular of all, and I do believe he could. The problem is I don't think he's going to. In this video, I'm just going to simply go over the candidates in their path forward to do this. Let's first start off with somebody that we thought was going to be a triple champion. Now, I would be surprised if he becomes a dominant champion. Khamzat Chimaev. When Khamzat Chimaev comes into here, tears his way through welterweight, beats Gilbert Burns as the #1 contender. They offer him basically a free win against Nate Diaz. We had a hold card shuffle right there, and it ends with Khamzat Chimaev winning, yes, but losing out on winning a welterweight title. That's what really happened there. Khamzat Chimaev won the fight, but now he's never fighting at welterweight again. That's what we found out from that night. We get the Kamaru Usman fight, although it's at middleweight, and frankly, I was not a huge fan of the fight in terms of what it meant. I thought it was weird that they tried to make that a #1 contenders fight. Even though Kamaru Usman's making his debut at middleweight on short notice, and Khamzat Chimaev was supposed to fight Paulo Costa. Khamzat Chimaev's pathway to becoming a double champion now is becoming the middleweight champion and winning the light heavyweight title. If we're going to go through how he would do this, I would say Khamzat Chimaev should try to call out somebody like Jared Cannonier. I think that is the easiest fight for him to get. I know his head coach was already talking about that being a fight that was in the works, but fell through. Paulo Costa ended up getting it. Weird stuff happened. This is where we're at. It was supposed to be #1 contenders match, as I said earlier, but the performance is not what they were looking for, and frankly, he didn't deserve it. I don't believe he deserved it. And now we hear these rumors that Khamzat Chimaev versus Sean Strickland is a guarantee if Strickland is able to beat Dricus this weekend. Am I a fan of this? No, but I understand what the UFC's doing. They did the same thing with O'Malley with Aljamain. O'Malley knew that he would be fighting for the title right when he beat Petr Yan via split decision. Aljamain didn't. They forced Aljamain on a 3-month turnaround. Now understand, I was not a fan of Aljamain being champion. However, I'm not a fan of the challenger calling the shot. Khamzat Chimaev, I believe, is going to do the same thing for Strickland. I think they want Strickland to win, not because they want him as champion, but because they know the likelihood of Strickland be able to make a turnaround to do UFC 300 is infinitely more likely if we look at his rap sheet. Strickland does do these quick turnarounds. He fought the last fight night of a year and then fought the first fight night of a year. We know he does this. If Strickland does beat Dricus, which I think he's going to do, I believe Khamzat Chimaev is going to find his way into the octagon. Or Mr. I don't like making fights the night of an event, Dana White, is going to say, I think Khamzat Chimaev or Sean Strickland is the fight to make. You do that for UFC 300, and that would be his pathway, the quickest one. Now, if Dricus wins, I have an idea of what they're going to do there. I think you're going to do Israel versus Dricus du Plessis, and you're just going to throw Strickland against Khamzat Chimaev and make it a #1 contenders match. And I'll be frank with you, after doing the breakdown on why I believe Strickland is going to beat Dricus, I have come to the conclusion that I do believe Khamzat Chimaev would beat Strickland. I think it's like a rock, paper, scissors thing. I think Dricus stands a better chance at beating Khamzat than Strickland does at beating Khamzat. because the way that Khamzat is going to take you down is very similar to Abbas Magomedov, but the only difference is Khamzat Chimaev is way better at punishing his opponent when they expose their back. We look at Khamzat Chimaev's fight with even Kamaru Usman. He didn't get the rear naked choke, but have you ever seen somebody put Kamaru Usman in danger like that? I've never seen that. And I think if Strickland gets put in the same position by Khamzat Chimaev that Abbas Magomedov put him in, and even Jack Hermansson in their fight that they had in that first round. The first round is key. Strickland is a slow starter. Khamzat Chimaev has the best first-round cardio out of every fighter I have ever seen in the organization. If Strickland wins, it's going to be by anything out of the first 2 rounds, honestly. I do believe Khamzat would beat Sean Strickland. Let's say Khamzat Chimaev beats Sean Strickland, first rounder naked choke. What do we do from here? Khamzat Chimaev, in that scape of the middleweight division, they're going to try to force a super fight between Khamzat Chimaev and Israel Adesanya if that fight hasn't happened yet. I do believe that's a fight that they've been looking forward to because I think they're looking at Israel and they're looking at Khamzat. They see 2 potential superstars. What I mean by potential, I mean Israel's already a superstar. Khamzat is getting to that point. I say they're going to do a passing of the torch moment. Khamzat Chimaev is going to be the new hype train of middleweight, and that's going to be their big seller. You do Israel versus Khamzat Chimaev, and that's how Khamzat Chimaev is going to get the hype, title defense, and the middleweight title. From there, we're looking up the light heavyweight, and the UFC would allow this. That's a big factor that people don't want to bring up. In the likelihood of someone becoming a double champion, is the UFC going to allow it? Let's look at the different treatments. We have Alexander Volkanovski had to dominate the entirety of featherweight, borderline make it annoying just how dominant he was. He wasn't super marketable for the majority of his title run. It wasn't until, I would argue, really, the first Islam Makahchev fight, and that was when the majority of fans came behind Volkanovski. Only for him to lose in the rematch, although it was on short notice. I mean, listen, I'm still mad about it. But I do believe when you look at Volkanovski, how much he had to work to get that opportunity. And then you look at somebody like Conor McGregor, really was just handed that. Even Israel had to work to build a legacy at middleweight before they allowed him up the light heavyweight. But I can see a scenario, especially if Alex Pereira is champion, when there is some beef there. You can see a Khamzat Chimaev defend the belt against Israel Adesanya. They're going to say, well, Israel cleared out his division. Khamzat Chimaev beat Israel. Let's see if there's another fight. Khamzat Chimaev fights Alex Pereira if he manages to defend the title against a Jamal Hill, because that is what's next. I can see that being a fight. Now, do I believe Khamzat Chimaev beats a Alex Pereira? I'm going to be frank with you. Alex Pereira is the only dude at light heavyweight that I believe Khamzat would beat. That's top ranked. In that title picture, yes. I think Jamal Hill sparks Khamzat Chimaev. If Glover Teixeira can't take... I understand. Let's clown on Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill has to have the weirdest strength possible for Glover Teixeira to have trouble taking him down. And if Khamzat's not taking you down like he's going to try to do in the first round and submit you, Jamal Hill's going to fucking spark him. That's a fact, dude. That's going to happen. Magomed Ankalaev. Magomed has grappling that's good enough to not get submitted by Khamzat Chimaev, and I believe Magomed, honestly, in a pure striking match, has the power to match Khamzat Chimaev, and I do believe he's going to beat Khamzat. Alex Pereira, purely because of how, I'm just going to say not good, how bad he is at grappling at this point in his MMA career, and I don't think he gets much better than he is now. It actually is an oddity of how far he's been able to come. I think Khamzat Chimaev would submit Alex Pereira based off what we've seen in the Jan Blachowicz fight, the Israel Adesanya fight. Frankly, Israel took him down. And even his fight with Yuri, there was moments in there. But yeah, I think Khamzat Chimaev, his best bet would be to beat Sean Strickland, defend the belt against Israel Adesanya, and then beat Alex Pereira if he's champion. The biggest problem to that is I don't think Alex Pereira will remain champion purely because I think somebody like Magomed is a huge problem for him. And if Magomed's champion, forget it. You're not beating him. But that's not who I think is the most likely to become a double champion. Call me a hype train. Call me a bandwagon. Call me whatever you want. I believe the most likely person to become a double champion, at least tied with our other person, there's two other people I'm going to name, is Sean O'Malley. Now, why am I saying this? Because O'Malley has the business behind him. The UFC is trying so hard to make O'Malley into their pay-per-view star. Look at how they're stacking UFC 299, and look at how they're treating UFC 297 and even UFC 300. UFC 299 is one of the most unreasonably stacked cards I have ever seen. What I mean by unreasonably, there is absolutely no reason that you would stack a numbered card like UFC 299, not a 300, the way you're doing. I thought O'Malley was a star, but apparently let's put more money in the pocket of O'Malley and just stack the card like crazy. They had to take a main event fight out of UFC 299, Ian Gary versus Jeff Neal, and put it on UFC 298 to further fill up that card. They took a fight off UFC 298 to make it into its own fight night, that being Tai Tuivasa versus Tybura, which is a weak fight night main event. I'm just going to say it. There's a reason it's in the Apex. But O'Malley has the business behind him. Look at how they're treating it. I've already said it. If O'Malley can beat Cheeto like I believe he's going to do, I don't believe he finishes Cheeto, and I don't believe he's the biggest star in the sport, but if the UFC wanted to run this con to trick the casual fans into thinking, yes, O'Malley is the biggest star in the sport by making it like, oh yeah, look at all the cards he's on, they're great, this is what you do. You pray that Ilia Topuria beats Volkanovski, and I have a feeling Ilya's going to get it done. I'll do a full breakdown video on that after the UFC 297 card, similar to what I did with Son Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis, but I need to watch more tape on it. But from what I've seen, Ilia Topuria stands a much better chance against Volkanovski than people are giving him credit for, and there's a reason that the odds are as close as they are, purely because Volkanovski is 35 years old. I know that doesn't mean a lot, and people are going to say, oh, 35, you're entering your prime. That's not true at 170 and below. In fact, at 155 and below, there has never, in the history of the sport, somebody that's been 35 and above that has won a title fight. That's never happened before. If Volkanovski can do it, he will be the first fighter under 155 pounds to win a title fight. That is how crazy it would be. The only other person 170 and below is Tyron Woodley. Yeah. So that's why I'm hesitant to pick Volkanovski here, and I'm kind of worried for Volk, because I have a feeling if Ilya can put him down, then we're going to see this downfall, because we saw mentally how much it messed with him losing to Islam, when frankly he had every excuse in the book to lose to Islam Makahchev. If Ilya can get it done against Volkanovski, there is already chirping and murmuring about Sean O'Malley becoming a double champion. Ilya has beef with Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley called Ilia Topuria his Eddie. I think you can make that fight, and I think the UFC would as like the final fight of the year. Now, I think this is the most likely. The other person that I'm going to be covering is an Islam Makahchev. Islam Makahchev, I do believe, is good enough to become a champion over lightweight and welterweight. He already has lightweight. Now, how do I believe he could do this? He's already laid out a plan for us, and based off some things that are getting rescheduled, which are kind of weird, we have that UFC fight night in Saudi Arabia that weirdly got rescheduled just a few days after Islam Makahchev saying, yeah, I'm looking to return in June. In my mind, what I'm thinking is Islam Makahchev is going to try to return on International Fight Week, same week as Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler, and Jamal Hill wants to fight Alex Pereira on UFC 300, not on UFC 300 International Fight Week. That's when Jamal Hill's return date roughly is. You have a good card there. But now I'm starting to believe, like the more I think about it, would the UFC be crazy enough just to make UFC Fight Night Saudi Arabia just Islam Makahchev? I know it's crazy. It's like, whoa, you're talking about the lightweight champion being a fight night main event. Yeah, but we're talking about Saudi Arabian money. Like, the biggest reason why you don't see champions fight on Fight Night main events is purely because of pay-per-views and money. I think Islam Makahchev would be perfectly okay with fighting in Saudi Arabia as a fight night. That's just me. I think the only person that would object would be Justin Gaethje, but he's not getting pay-per-view points. I don't believe he is, unless Ali Abdelaziz is, moving some things around. Ali is also the manager of Justin and Islam Makhachev. And Islam Makhachev tweeted, or Ali tweeted, that he was thinking his plan was going to be fight Justin Gaethje in June, looking like Saudi Arabia, and then defending the belt against the winner of Arman Tsarukyan and Charles Oliveira later this year. And in 2025, he says, whatever fight. But I believe the beginning of 2025 is going to be kicked off with a double champion fight between Islam Makhachev and then the champion of welterweight. And listen, worst case scenario, the champion's Belal Muhammad, and Belal's just going to be, a placeholder. And I don't think Islam would fight Belal Muhammad. I think they're too closely training together. I think it would cause some weird, infighting. I think it would be a weird thing to do. I don't think Belal Muhammad's going to beat Leon Edwards because, I'm going to be frank with you, if you watch the first fight between Belal Muhammad and Leon was winning because he was outstriking Belal Muhammad. It's as simple as that. And I don't care how much wrestling you're doing. I think Leon Edwards is still going to destroy Belal Muhammad unless we get another split decision. But in my mind, it should be illegal to win a split decision in a title fight. That's just my opinion. But you know what? Belal Muhammad does whatever he wants, apparently. And then we look at, if Belal Muhammad loses, we have Leon Edwards or Shavkat Rakhmonov as the champion of welterweight. I think Shavkat Rakhmonov can become champion of welterweight. And if I'm looking at this, if I'm Islam Makhachev, I've defended my belt against Charles Oliveira or Arman Tsarukyan and Justin Gaethje. I can afford to go up and challenge for the belt. Leon Edwards is probably the safest bet. No offense to Leon. We've seen the type of champion Leon Edwards is. He's just going to do just enough to win the fight. He's not going to put on some crazy performance. We saw that in the Colby Covington fight. So I believe that his best bet would be to defend the belt at lightweight, go up to welterweight, beat Leon Edwards. However, if Shavkat becomes champion, I think Shavkat beats Islam, purely because I think the size difference is going to be enough for Shavkat to mitigate some of that wrestling. And Shavkat just has some crazy wrestling, dude. I think that would be your best bet. I believe Sean O'Malley is your most likely, purely because of how much the business is behind O'Malley and how hard they're going to push him. And I do believe O'Malley can beat Ilia Topuria. And I think Volkanovski is going to lose to Ilia. Your second most likely would be an Islam Makhachev. The only reason why I believe it wouldn't happen is if Belal Muhammad becomes champion and they just won't fight. Or Islam Makhachev. I don't think Islam Makhachev is going to beat Shavkat if Shavkat reaches his prime. Least likely, I believe, is going to be a Khamzat Chimaev just because I don't believe his power, I don't believe his grappling is going to transfer super well to light heavyweight because, frankly, we haven't seen him grapple a true 185-pound fighter. We haven't. I know somebody's going to say, well, Gerald Meerschaert, they never grappled. He never fought a ranked 180-pounder. We never got to see that. I don't have faith in Khamzat Chimaev that much without sacrificing really any other things that kind of make him as good as he is. I think Alex Pereira would be the best bet for Khamzat Chimaev, and I don't believe he's going to be in the organization that much longer. He's talking about defending the belt in less than a month because I do believe he understands I'm not going to be doing this for that much longer, so I'm just going to get as many fights as I can. But there you go. That's who I believe are going to be your next double champions in listed of order of likelihood from most likely to least likely. Tell me what you think in the comment section. Who do you think I missed? Who do you believe is going to be a double champion first in the comment section below? And if you have a video suggestion, comment section. Thank you for watching, guys. It means a lot to me. Adios, guys.